I think um, introducing reserve seating is good, as it raises awareness for more people to give up their seats to the more needy people, such as the pregnant woman, the elderly, and the toddlers. Yeah, I think the commuters will be more considerate towards the people around them, and they will be more alert to who is standing and who really needs the seat in the MRT. I think mainly the students in uniform and the middle-aged adults will give up their seats, mainly because the students are in the uniform, so the people will actually see the reputation of the school itself. And if a person is from an elite school who is wearing school uniform and don't give up their seat to the needy, it will actually bring down their school's reputation. And the middle-aged people, frankly speaking, are more considerate towards the people who need the seats. Normally, adults and young adults, they won't be so aware of they won't be so aware of these kinds of situations, because they'll be like all engaged with their own electronic devices such as handphones, tablets, iPads, laptops, like basically doing their own stuff. But I believe that they actually have seen that people in need of the seats are standing in front of them. They just don't want to give it up. I have no idea why, but yeah, they just have the tendency to sit down and not give up their seats.
我觉得那个预留座位应该让给真正有需要的人，例如老人啊、孕妇啊，然后那些残疾人、身体不方便的那些人。我曾经有让过座位啦，就让给过孕妇和老人。我觉得像尤其是这两类人，就是十分需要这位子的，因为车在行驶过程中会比较晃荡嘛，然后他们有位置坐的话，就是可以确保安全性。
I think reserve seatings are very effective, but I think there should be one more with students with heavy bags. No, honestly speaking, there should be one for students with heavy bags, because it's the same thing as like an elderly lady carrying heavy, what do you call that, groceries or something. Yeah. How do you think this affects people? Sometimes people may not want to give up their seat, which defeats the whole purpose of the reserve seating itself. Not many people may be willing to give up their seats, because most of the time people that I see on the reserve seatings are mostly students, but not with heavy bags, or youngsters, and they don't really give up their seats. But people do also, so that's good.
Okay, one thing you need to know is that many different countries have this reserved seating, and in certain countries, when it's say reserved for certain people even when it's reserved for pregnant ladies, but nobody standing around that is pregnant, nobody sits on it. In some countries it's like that, because they have this notion that these seats are reserved for people who need it more, and therefore we leave it reserved. And there is a need for us to have this social awareness that when we interact with others, we have to put others before ourselves. If there are people who need it more, give them the seats. And hopefully in the future, we don't even need to highlight reserved seating, people automatically give up the seats. Yeah. So how do you think this affects people? Affects in many ways. There are different effects. For example, people who are very tired go up the MRT, they will choose to sit on the seats that is not highlighted reserved. So hopefully they won't feel the pressure, because they'll feel if someone who is pregnant came up, those on the reserved seat has to be the first to give up the seat. unless those didn't, then I give out. So they will choose. That's one effect. The other is probably a reminder, but it may not lead to, in the end, people giving up that seat, because you do know people pretend to fall asleep. When you fall asleep, you can pretend that no, it's because I fell asleep that's why I didn't know, not because I don't want to. Or people pretend to be very engrossed in something, leave the newspaper so close that you can't see. So these are all the different effects on people. Then how many people do you think will actually be willing to give up their seats on the train? Actually, you will be surprised that there is actually a good number. But, okay, this is personal experience, because I went through 2 pregnancies, and during that 2 pregnancies, I had to take train to HQ. I noticed it's usually the younger ones, those in school uniform, give up the seats. The younger generation, especially guys or ladies, younger ones, they tend to give up the seat. It's only a specific age group that doesn't. Usually the middle age, about 30, 40s, then tend to be like that.
On this reserved seatings on MRT, I think it's not a good opinion. By right, whoever first come, first serve. This is on my opinion, because everybody are paying. In Singapore, there's nothing is free. So if you're going to put a reserved seating, it seems that you are putting a certain criteria to certain people. Then, for those reserved seating, by right, they should be paying more than the others. That's on my opinion. Although that we have to be very flexible on certain criteria, but in Singapore, everybody is paying. So everybody have an equal right to have a seating on MRT. That's on my opinion. And then the second opinion, as what they've been saying, this will affect, especially the old people may say that the young people is not tolerancy, don't have a tolerancy, and young people are arrogant and things. By right, it's not. As I told you again, I repeat again, because in Singapore, nothing is free. Everybody paying. And then to earn a living is very hard. And then, if the government intend to make a reserved seating, the government should make a criteria that reserved seating, they are based on what? Based on what? Because if you're talking about based on what, then must have a certain criteria. Government should implement a certain criteria on what is the purpose for making a reserved seating for. As I told you again, everybody is paying equal. In Singapore, there's not everybody must be equal. On this is based on individual. Based on individual, regardless either whoever they are, it's up to individual. How voluntarily they are and how they take things in their hand. But as I tell you now, in this actual fact of living now, everybody is rushing, everybody think for themselves, everybody, because why? Again, this is effect on the life. As life are very stressed now, life are very challenging, life to be challenged between one another, standard of living very high, so everybody now thinking for themselves. Everything are good to pay, government keep on putting the higher taxes, government keep on implementing things, salary never increase, so everything, bus increase, MRT increase, everything increase. So why it's so special about the reserved seating? I'm paying, man, I'm not free. Again, this is the effect of the government method. What is free in Singapore? So there's no reserve on this, because everybody equal, everybody have to pay for it, and nothing is free. So it's effect on the life of everyone.